You believe success is earned through hard work, genuine connections, and unyielding loyalty. A comforting illusion, isn't it? But what if the very virtues you've been taught are nothing more than a carefully crafted trap designed to keep you precisely where you are? Or worse, to make you an unwitting pawn in a game you don't even know you're playing? Powerful people don't see the world through the soft lens of friendship. They see a ruthless calculus of leverage. This is the brutal, undeniable truth Machiavelli understood centuries ago, a truth that lays bare the first law of strategic social climbing. No bond is ever neutral. Every interaction, every handshake, every shared smile either elevates or degrades your position in the invisible hierarchy that governs human ambition. Most fall here, tragically, because they treat the powerful like people, not intricate, self-serving systems. They chase admiration, believing that being liked or simply working harder will magically unlock doors. It won't. Power speaks its own chilling language, and if you're not fluent, you're irrelevant. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in celebrating virtue, but in recognizing that favor with rulers is bought not with character, but with cold, hard utility. To be useful to someone above you is to become an indispensable cog in their machine. To be merely admirable, without practical value, is to be utterly invisible. So, let's strip away the saccharine lies. Never, ever approach power as a beggar seeking crumbs of validation or opportunity. Approach as an undeniable answer, a solution to a problem they haven't even articulated yet. The moment you expose a need, you've already devalued yourself, signaling weakness in a world that preys on it. But the instant you project irrefutable value, you shatter the existing dynamic. Powerful figures are constantly besieged by takers. The sycophants, the flatterers, the parasites cloaked as allies. They possess an instinctual radar for those who add undeniable weight to their empire versus those who merely drain its resources. Your task, therefore, is to position yourself as a silent stabilizer, an unseen force that makes their complex world simpler, smoother, and stronger. You don't dare compete with their power, you complete it. But to execute this chilling transformation, you must master the second law. Observe before you move. The greatest mistake the aspiring climber makes isn't a lack of ambition, but a frantic rush to act, to speak, to reveal themselves too soon, exposing their hand before the cards are dealt. This is the exploitation trap you must escape. Machiavelli, the master strategist, wrote that one must study men as one studies the terrain before battle. This isn't about intuition, it's about cold, hard intelligence gathering. The powerful, masters of their own propaganda, hide behind meticulously crafted personas, but their raw desires, their deepest fears, and their most gnawing insecurities always leak through subtle cracks in their armor. The flicker in their eyes, the unconscious shift in their posture, the nuanced tone, the precise timing of their interruptions, or the carefully chosen individuals they actually listen to. You are not there, in these initial stages, to impress. You are there to diagnose. Because once you unearth what they truly crave, be it recognition, unshakable loyalty, a fleeting moment of amusement, or profound admiration, you gain the blueprint to deliver it in a form they cannot, will not, resist. This grim discovery leads directly to the third law. Mirror their world, not yours. The powerful demand familiarity, not the discomfort of outsiders. They bestow trust upon those who subtly reflect their own values, their own priorities, their own worldview back to them. This isn't mimicry, it's strategic harmonization. If their domain is driven by brutal pragmatism, you become the embodiment of ruthless practicality. If they prize exclusivity and rarity, your counsel speaks in the hushed tones of the privileged few. This isn't deceit in the crude sense. It's a mastery of rhythm, a dance of perception. When your frequency aligns with theirs, they cease to perceive you as a stranger. They begin to believe, with unnerving certainty, that you get it. In that precise, fleeting moment, your outsider status begins its strategic fade. But simple harmony is insufficient. It's merely the opening act. Which brings us to the fourth, truly insidious law. Maintain a shroud of mystery around your value. The moment you lay bare every single card you hold, every potential offer, every skill you possess, you commodify yourself. You become a mere product, and products, in the cutthroat market of power, are tragically replaceable. Machiavelli's genius lay in his chilling comprehension that partial revelation doesn't just create interest, it actively creates demand. You want them to sense an abyss of depth you refuse to fully display, a network of reach you subtly hint at but never fully map, a constellation of connections you allude to but never overtly admit. When they discern there's something unspoken, something held back, indifference shatters, replaced by a gnawing curiosity. You transmute from one of many interchangeable pieces to one of the rare, coveted few. Yet, this precise manipulation demands surgical precision because the fifth law warns, appear humble in ambition, yet fierce in execution. The powerful despise overt hunger for status. It's an uncomfortable mirror reflecting their own relentless climb, the years they spent clawing their way up, and they would rather not see that raw reflection in your eyes. So, you must project an unnerving calm, an almost zen-like patience, a calculated indifference to overt advancement. But when the faintest tremor of opportunity manifests, you move with decisive, almost ruthless speed. The powerful, because they embody this duality themselves, recognize it instantly. Restraint, infused with undeniable purpose. It broadcasts a clear signal that you understand the rules of their savage game, but you play them with an unyielding, internal rhythm all your own. Then comes the sixth law, a masterstroke in psychological manipulation. Make powerful people compete for your loyalty. Nothing inflates the ego of a ruler, a CEO, or a political figure more than the belief that someone of genuine value, someone with options, chose them. If your allegiance feels automatic, a foregone conclusion, it immediately loses its worth in their eyes. You must meticulously position yourself as someone worth actively courting, a prize to be won, not a given. The secret is to introduce a subtle, almost imperceptible friction, not outright rebellion, but an undeniable aura of independence. If other influential figures discreetly seek your time, your counsel, or your respect, allow that truth to circulate, subtly, without a single boastful word. It raises your perceived price without a direct negotiation. As Machiavelli grimly warned, those who make themselves too available to a single master become disposable. The powerful, inherently insecure and possessive, zealously protect what is hard to possess, what retains an air of choice and autonomy. This brings us to the seventh law, an essential refinement of the art of influence. Learn to turn flattery into strategy, not sycophancy. Empty, gratuitous praise is not just poison, it's a currency utterly debased by the powerful who hear it all day, every day. What makes yours different, what cuts through the noise, is chilling precision. Instead of a generic, "You're brilliant," articulate, "Your timing on that decision was exact. No one else could have read the moment with such clarity." Now, your compliment carries the weight of true insight. It demonstrates a profound understanding of the specific qualities they pride themselves on, their discernment, their strategic intelligence, their absolute control. When you praise the right qualities, you don't just flatter, you reinforce their meticulously constructed self-image. And when you reinforce their self-image, they unconsciously begin to associate that profound feeling of affirmation, that sense of their own magnified power, directly with you. But even this sophisticated tactic is a razor's edge, because you must never, ever forget the eighth law. Never let your ambition outshine theirs. This is the core betrayal of the ambitious, the self-sabotage of the genuinely talented. Even if you are, in brutal fact, more talented, more insightful, or more capable, you cannot overtly display it. Power, by its very nature, harbors a fragile, easily wounded ego. Machiavelli warned that those who even seem to threaten a prince's superiority will be crushed, not necessarily because they pose an actual danger, but because they evoke the ruler's deepest, most primal fear of vulnerability. The true art lies in concealing your formidable strength behind a veil of deference. Allow your achievements to appear as if they are merely serving, enhancing, or reflecting their greater vision. The cleverest social climber hides their razor-sharp intellect and fierce capability within the deceptive folds of obedience. Power protects those who appear loyal and annihilates those who dare to appear equal. This is the existential risk of climbing without understanding the deeper currents of fear and insecurity that define the powerful. Once you've navigated these treacherous early stages and earned proximity, the ninth law becomes absolutely critical, a counterintuitive maneuver that separates the contenders from the mere aspirants. Build alliances sideways, not just upward. Most ambitious souls fixate obsessively on impressing the figure at the very pinnacle. But the true, invisible game, the actual levers of control, reside within the intricate web of individuals surrounding them. The gatekeepers, the trusted assistants, the inner circle of advisors, the quiet confidantes. These are the unsung orchestrators who shape perception, meticulously control access, and whisper into the right, most receptive ears. They are often far more dangerous and infinitely more valuable than the figurehead themselves. Machiavelli, with his chilling foresight, would have called them the invisible princes, the true holders of influence operating just behind the throne. Befriend them quietly, almost imperceptibly. Offer them small, strategic advantages, a subtle piece of information, a quiet introduction, an unexpected favor that aligns with their own discreet agendas. Win their protection, their quiet allegiance. They, unknowingly, will carry your name upward, amplifying your signal through their own networks, without you ever needing to ask directly. They become your unacknowledged, yet profoundly effective champions. This deepens into the 10th law. Make gratitude a weapon, not a weakness. When someone powerful extends a hand, offers a benefit, or grants a favor, never respond like a grateful servant, bowing in subservience. Respond like an equal who recognizes a strategic exchange, a calculated investment. The servant utters a fleeting thank you once and considers the debt settled. The strategist, the Machiavellian operator, expresses appreciation through proactive, tangible return value. Perhaps you solve a pressing problem for them later, without being asked, or you present them with a piece of intelligence, a crucial insight that directly aids their unspoken goals. Gratitude, when backed by precise, impactful action, radically transforms the dynamic. You are no longer merely a recipient of their generosity. You transmute into a contributor, an invaluable asset, and contributors, by their very nature, are notoriously difficult to remove from the system. Yet, even this calculated contribution requires a master's touch, which leads us to the 11th law. Master the art of subtle rebellion. Total, unthinking submission does not breed loyalty. It invites contempt and, eventually, utter dispensability. You must, on occasion, resist. Politely, intelligently, in a manner that intrigues rather than overtly threatens. A minor, well-reasoned disagreement here, a quiet, almost imperceptible defiance there. It signals individuality, a formidable spine, not outright insubordination. It communicates to the powerful that you possess your own core, your own unwavering conviction, and, paradoxically, people without spines cannot be truly trusted in their brutal world. Machiavelli observed that those who flatter without boundaries soon lose all credibility, becoming a soft, easily dismissed echo. But those who understand precisely when to say no, carefully and with impeccable reason, gain an unnerving, magnetic respect. The dark brilliance lies in disagreeing, as if you are rigorously protecting their interests, subtly guiding them from a potential misstep, rather than openly challenging their authority. The 12th law flows directly from this nuanced defiance. Control your visibility. Exposure, in the world of power, is a seductive, intoxicating mistress, but one that is fatally dangerous if mishandled. When you are perpetually seen, constantly present, your novelty inevitably fades, and with it, your allure. But when you are rarely seen, yet indelibly remembered, you begin to acquire a mythic quality. After each strategic success, step back, retreat into a calculated silence. Allow others to speak your name, to amplify your legend in your absence. The powerful, inherently selective with their own presence, crave those who mirror this elusive behavior. The less accessible you appear, the more fiercely they will chase your attention, for what is scarce is always more valuable. And finally, the 13th law, the true crown jewel of this dark wisdom, is to always move as though you already belong. Even before you have earned a formal seat at their table, your posture, your tone, your entire presence must radiate an unshakable certainty. Insecurity, the scent of fear, emanates louder than any arrogance. When you step into a room populated by power, you do not wait to be accepted. You act as if your acceptance is not just inevitable, but an established fact. Machiavelli would declare that fortune favors the one who already appears favored, already chosen by destiny itself. Power, in its deepest, most primal core, respects a confidence that demands no external confirmation, no fragile validation. When you move, speak, and exist as if you have always belonged, others will, with chilling speed, begin to believe it themselves, long before they can articulate why. And all of these laws, every single one, orbit around a single brutal truth. Connection with power is not about pretending to be more than you are, nor is it about the naive pursuit of genuine friendship. It is a cold, calculated dance of perception, a strategic offering of undeniable presence instead of pathetic pleading, surgical precision instead of hollow flattery, and unyielding control instead of emotional chaos. The powerful aren't seeking equals. They are searching for reflections of their own dominance, mirrors to validate their own inherent superiority. If you can master this chilling art, if you can mirror that dominance without ever losing yourself in the reflection, you won't merely forge connections. You will quietly, invisibly, construct an empire of influence, one that grows beneath the radar until the day arrives when you no longer need to climb. Because by then, you have already arrived. But here lies the ultimate counterintuitive betrayal. Even arrival is an illusion. In the world of true power, there is no such thing as a final, secure position. Every alliance, every bond, every carefully constructed circle of influence is fluid, constantly shifting. What elevates you to dizzying heights today can, with a single unforeseen tremor, bury you beneath the rubble tomorrow. Machiavelli understood this inherent instability better than any philosopher, any ruler, any strategist. His true secret wasn't merely knowing how to rise, but how to stay elevated without ever becoming a target, how to perpetually adapt without being consumed by the very forces you seek to master. This is the hidden continuation of these laws, the chilling postscript to the conventional wisdom, how to keep your connections alive, immensely valuable, and strategically aligned, without ever, for a single moment, being trapped by them. The next principle is subtle but absolutely vital, an unseen tripwire. Never become predictable. The moment the powerful can fully anticipate your every move, every thought, every reaction, they lose curiosity. And curiosity, in their high-stakes game, is the ultimate emotional currency that keeps them engaged. Predictability, in this ecosystem, is the silent assassin of fascination. You must, with surgical intent, occasionally shift your tone, your direction, your energy, just enough to remain perpetually unreadable. This doesn't mean chaos or erratic behavior. It means being demonstrably capable of surprising them without ever alarming them. Perhaps you are the calm, composed figure who, against all expectations, suddenly introduces a brilliant, disruptive idea, or the quiet observer who acts with decisive, unexpected force when no one else anticipates it. That spark of unpredictability isn't just a tactic, it creates a profound emotional hook. They remember you as the one who could always be counted on to shatter the monotonous rhythm of their world. But this unpredictability is only effective if it's grounded in unwavering control. So, you must balance it with the next chilling principle: learn to vanish strategically. Silence, in the halls of power, is its favorite, most potent ally. When you disappear for a calculated period, people don't forget you. They begin to wonder, where did they go? What are they planning? Have they secretly advanced to an even higher echelon, leaving us behind? This gnawing curiosity ensures your name continues to circulate, whispered in strategic circles. The powerful, fundamentally independent themselves, respect those who know how to strategically withdraw. It signals an unshakable autonomy. You are not merely orbiting anyone else's gravity. You possess your own internal center. And when you do return, return with undeniable momentum, a major win, a profound insight, a strategic alliance, something that not only justifies your absence, but elevates your stature. Every reappearance must feel like an event, a deliberate performance, never a mere accident. This invisible maneuvering connects to a deeper, more profound layer of Machiavellian strategy. Your social image must always appear slightly larger than your current, actual status. Project an aura of being just a rung above where you genuinely stand, never below. People, in their relentless pursuit of upward mobility, rarely invite those they perceive as beneath them. They invite those who possess the subtle power to slightly elevate the room simply by their presence. If you are still relatively unknown, act known. If you currently move within smaller circles, speak with the calm, self-assured certainty of someone who is routinely accustomed to far grander ones. This creates what Machiavelli might have chillingly called anticipated prestige. People begin to treat you not as you are, but as you are becoming, as the inevitable force you are destined to be. And when they do, your reality, with an almost uncanny certainty, eventually catches up to your carefully sculpted image. Yet, there is a profound, ever-present danger in merely constructing impressions, which brings us to another brutal principle: never compete for attention directly. Let the hungry masses exhaust themselves performing for the blinding glare of the spotlight, while you, with chilling precision, build quiet, unassailable credibility behind the scenes. In every hierarchy, there are the performers and there are the architects. The performers desperately crave applause, fleeting validation. The architects, the true masters, are the ones who design and build the very stage upon which the performers desperately seek their fleeting fame. The powerful, the true power brokers, inherently respect the architects, those who subtly influence monumental outcomes without ever needing the shallow currency of recognition. If someone else desperately needs the credit, let them have it. Credit is a short-term, rapidly depreciating currency. Influence, the silent, invisible force, is long-term wealth, an appreciating asset. The most Machiavellian operators in history never once demanded acknowledgement. They made themselves utterly indispensable, and that, in their brutal calculus, was always enough. And yet, even being indispensable harbors its own insidious traps. It can render you too visible, too irreplaceable, and therefore, paradoxically, too threatening. So, you must master what I call the chilling art of controlled usefulness. Help enough to be profoundly valued, but never so much that your removal becomes an impossibility, a system-crippling crisis. Because when you become utterly irreplaceable, you also become utterly intolerable to those who crave absolute control. Power despises any dependency that does not unequivocally serve its own relentless agenda. Instead, rotate your value, offer solutions, make strategic introductions, provide invaluable perspectives, but never all at once, never in a predictable pattern. Cultivate the profound sense that your usefulness is an evolving, multifaceted entity, a constant, intriguing surprise. Machiavelli would have famously stated, "A ruler tolerates those who help him win, not those who remind him he cannot win without them." Now, let us delve into the treacherous landscape of emotional politics, the terrain where most ambitious individuals tragically, spectacularly fail. The higher you climb, the less logic governs relationships. Everything, eventually, devolves into emotional economics, a currency far more volatile than any stock market. Powerful people do not genuinely want raw truth. They desire comfort, meticulously disguised as profound insight. They do not seek contradiction. They crave confirmation, subtly flavored with a veneer of intellectual challenge. They want, above all else, to feel inherently smarter after engaging with you, never, ever smaller. So, the way you meticulously frame your ideas, your dissent, your very contributions, becomes your real power. If you absolutely must disagree, phrase it as an enhancement, an augmentation. That's a truly brilliant point. What if, for a moment, we considered adding this angle? It could make it utterly unstoppable. You are not opposing, you are amplifying, you are shaping their thoughts, guiding their very perceptions, without ever triggering their ingrained defense mechanisms. That, my friend, is how true influence operates, through masterful emotional calibration, never through brute intellectual dominance. And precisely because of this profound truth, the next rule becomes utterly indispensable. Always be the calmest person in the room. Power gravitates, with an almost primal instinct, toward emotional stillness. The loudest voice, the most aggressive personality may momentarily dominate attention, but it is the quietest, most composed presence that invariably commands the deepest, most enduring respect. When others descend into panic, you remain unnervingly composed. When they vehemently argue, you listen with a surgical precision. When they react with raw emotion, you calmly, dispassionately analyze. Stillness, in the crucible of high-stakes interaction, radiates an unshakable control. And in any hierarchy, control is the most potent, most magnetic force. Machiavelli taught that fear is not always enforced with overt violence or threats. Sometimes it is subtly earned through calm, chilling unpredictability. When people are utterly unable to discern how you will react, how you will respond, they proceed with an unnerving caution. Your very restraint, your impenetrable composure, becomes its own formidable authority. From this profound insight comes the next principle, perhaps one of the hardest for the naturally empathetic. Make powerful people feel safe in their insecurity. Every individual wielding significant power, regardless of their public bravado, carries hidden doubts, gnawing anxieties. They fret about betrayal, about losing relevance, about the terrifying prospect of losing control. Your task isn't to ruthlessly exploit these vulnerabilities. That is the amateur's game, a short path to self-destruction. Your task is to subtly soothe those insecurities, to alleviate them through the quiet cultivation of unshakable trust. Allow them to feel that you understand their unspoken fears without judgment, without the slightest hint of exploitation. Share your most profound insights privately, in hushed tones, never, ever publicly. The more someone of status believes their deepest weaknesses are utterly safe within your counsel, the more they will, unconsciously, bind themselves to you emotionally. They may never utter the words aloud, but they will begin to fiercely defend you in rooms you have never even entered. That, my friend, is the true meaning of social leverage, the ultimate power play. When individuals with immense power actively protect you because you hold the unspoken keys to their deepest, most vulnerable fears, then comes a critical inversion, a paradox that shatters conventional wisdom. Never make them your entire focus. If your entire world revolves solely around powerful individuals, they will inevitably sense your dependency, and dependency, in their brutal ecosystem, is a repulsive, fatal weakness to those who meticulously control all resources. You must meticulously maintain other alliances, other networks, even with those who appear to be beneath you, across different strata of influence. Influence operates in complex, interconnected layers. If you are respected, even discreetly, across multiple strata, upward, sideways, and downward, no single connection can ever truly define you or imprison you. This cultivated independence renders you rare, invaluable. Powerful people, those who covet ownership, are drawn to what they cannot fully possess, and they remain intensely interested in what they can never fully predict. Now, let's talk about your demeanor. People often mistakenly believe that social climbing demands a constant, exhausting performance. It doesn't. It demands the masterful art of contrast. Be rigorously restrained in your speech, but vivid, almost magnetic in your subtle expression. Be unfailingly polite, but never, ever submissive. Be warm, approachable, but never, ever fully available. That delicate, almost electric tension, approachable yet tantalizingly untouchable, is precisely what draws people in, what creates an irresistible gravitational pull. Power loves what glows with an inner light, but never burns too close, never threatens to consume. If you can master that precise emotional distance, that exquisite balance, you will discover that people of profound influence will begin chasing your approval, often without even realizing the subtle manipulation. And that, my friend, is when your true ascent begins. It begins when you cease chasing their acceptance and, instead, begin to radiate it from within. When you transform into the type of person who appears to belong effortlessly everywhere, yet owes allegiance, or worse, dependency, to absolutely no one. The most dangerous, the most effective social climbers aren't the loud, overtly ambitious, or visibly hungry. They are the tranquil, the deliberate, the almost impossible to place. You cannot discern, merely by observing them, whether they are at the very inception of their rise or already at its unassailable peak. That carefully cultivated ambiguity, that impenetrable mystery, subtly unsettles people, but it also, paradoxically, attracts them with an almost magnetic force. Because in a world slavishly addicted to rigid hierarchy and clear labels, mystery itself feels like an ultimate, unassailable form of power. This, precisely, is what Machiavelli meant when he chillingly asserted that appearance often, almost always, outweighs brutal reality in the relentless pursuit of influence. To forge enduring connections with the truly powerful, you must sculpt perception like a master artist. Every gesture, every strategic silence, every carefully chosen word must be placed with an almost surgical intent. You do not need to dominate rooms with bluster. You need to meticulously design the very atmosphere of those rooms. You do not need to win petty arguments. You need to subtly guide emotions, to steer the collective mood. And above all, you do not need to climb visibly, with fanfare and ostentation. You need to climb strategically, one invisible, imperceptible rung at a time, because true social elevation, the kind that endures, doesn't unfold on grand public stages. It happens in the hushed whispers, the fleeting glances, and the seemingly insignificant moments that others, trapped in their own ego-driven performances, carelessly overlook. The real climb, the only climb that matters, begins when you stop desperately seeking to be noticed and start focusing, with chilling precision, on being remembered. But to be remembered by the powerful, truly remembered, you must first learn to exist within their brutal, demanding world without ever, for a single moment, being consumed by it. Power, like a siren's song, seduces, tempts, and ensnares. The closer you draw to its intoxicating flame, the more it attempts to pull you into its relentless rhythm, its endless demands for unwavering loyalty, for undivided attention, for constant validation. That, precisely, is where the vast majority of social climbers falter, where they plunge into the abyss. They tragically mistake mere proximity for permanence. They foolishly believe that being invited means being truly accepted. But the chilling truth is this: every room of profound influence harbors two distinct kinds of people: those who are profoundly useful and those who are ruthlessly used. If you lack the chilling self-awareness to discern which one you are, then, with brutal certainty, you are the latter. Machiavelli, with his characteristic pragmatism, would have warned you. Never forget that the higher you rise, the colder, the more brutal, the more isolating the air becomes. Fleeting affection fades like smoke, but cold, hard utility, strategic value, endures like stone. So, your next, paramount task is to render your usefulness utterly permanent, while simultaneously making your dependency utterly invisible. You achieve this by meticulously building leverage that exists entirely outside their immediate orbit. Cultivate projects, develop networks, foster circles of influence that exist independently of them. The powerful, almost pathologically, respect autonomy more than anything else, because they secretly, deeply fear those who cannot be fully controlled, those who possess their own distinct gravity. It is a profound, almost terrifying paradox. The less you demonstrably need them, the more intensely they will desire your proximity, your strategic counsel, your very presence. This leads us into the next unspoken, yet utterly critical rule: never gossip upward. It is, unequivocally, the fastest, most assured path to utterly destroying trust within elite circles. Even the slightest hint, the most fleeting whisper, that you repeat private conversations, that you cannot hold counsel, will result in your quiet, surgical exile. The powerful operate within small, intensely paranoid ecosystems where unwavering loyalty is the ultimate currency, and discretion, total, absolute discretion, is their most vital armor. So, speak less than you know, far less. If someone confides in you, guard that confidence. Protect it as if it were your own life, your own darkest secret. When word, through invisible channels, finally spreads that you never leak, that you are an impenetrable vault, even your silence gains a profound, almost terrifying value. Machiavelli would have declared that secrets are the truest form of power, the most enduring leverage, and the man who can hold them becomes utterly indispensable to every throne, every empire, every dynasty. But there is another crucial layer here, a masterstroke of timing. The next rule: always know precisely when to step forward, and, more critically, when to strategically fade into the background. Power, by its very nature, is a rhythm, a pulse, not a state of constant, frantic motion. Push at the wrong, ill-advised moment, and you will appear desperate, grasping. Pull away for too long, disappear for an extended period, and you will swiftly become irrelevant, a forgotten echo. The true trick, the art, is to ride the natural current of their energy, their momentum, when they are demonstrably rising, aligning yourself subtly with their ascent. Offer timely ideas, strategic support, a clarifying perspective that enhances their upward trajectory. When they are undeniably under pressure, facing internal turmoil or external assault, vanish just enough to display profound respect for their solitude, their need for strategic contemplation. Never outshine them when they are ravenously craving visibility. Never disappear when they are desperately craving validation. The powerful, above all, remember those who read them, understand their unspoken needs, without ever needing to be explicitly told. And here's a truly counterintuitive truth, one that shatters the facade of ambition. If you truly aspire to build genuine, enduring bonds with the powerful, don't always converse about success. Speak, instead, about struggle. Not yours, but subtly, skillfully, about theirs. Ask about the times they teetered on the brink of failure, the lessons they profoundly regret, the grueling moments no one else ever witnessed. Power lives, thrives, on an unending performance, a relentless projection of certainty. The rarest form of intimacy, the most profound connection, is discovered in moments of shared, perceived vulnerability. When someone of immense status realizes that you see their raw humanity, their inherent fragility, not just their imposing title, you step irrevocably out of the anonymous crowd and into their tightly guarded inner circle. Because everyone, every single sycophant, flatters their strengths. But only the truly insightful, the truly strategic, can subtly respect their scars. Now, there's another principle Machiavelli implied, a subtle whisper rarely stated directly, the art of playing smaller than you truly are. Pretend, with masterful conviction, to underestimate your own growing influence. Let others, through their own observations, slowly, painstakingly discover it for themselves. When you act utterly unaware of your burgeoning reputation, when you seem oblivious to your accelerating ascent, it subtly disarms the poisonous sting of envy. The powerful, almost instinctively, prefer those who rise organically, those who seem propelled by a natural, almost inevitable momentum, not those who brazenly announce their climb with trumpets and fanfare. The less you overtly advertise your ascent, the more readily others will, often unknowingly, accelerate it for you. They will speak your name, recommend you in crucial circles, defend you against detractors, all while genuinely believing it was their own brilliant idea to champion you. Still, this quiet, almost invisible ascent depends entirely on one formidable, invisible weapon, your reputation. Guard it fiercely, like it is pure gold, not through defensive explanations or frantic justifications, but through consistently impeccable behavior. You don't correct baseless rumors. You drown them, obliterate them, with undeniable, overwhelming proof of your character and competence. Machiavelli famously warned that reputation often decides wars, determines outcomes, long before they ever physically begin. If people genuinely believe you are competent, unswervingly loyal, and utterly discreet, they will act as though you are, even if they never take a single step to verify it. Perception, in the unforgiving hierarchy of influence, doesn't just shape reality, it becomes reality. Then comes the chilling rule of reciprocation, one of the most subtle and most frequently misused of all strategic tools. Most people, with their naive understanding of fairness, believe that reciprocity demands the immediate, equal return of favors. But among the powerful, timing matters infinitely more than mere equality. If someone extends a crucial hand, grants you a significant favor today, do not, under any circumstances, rush to return it tomorrow. Wait. Bide your time. Choose a precise, strategic moment when their need is demonstrably greater, when your act of return will carry an undeniable, disproportionate weight. This calculated delay transforms what would have been a simple transaction into an unbreakable bond, a profound emotional investment. It whispers to them, I didn't merely repay out of obligation, out of rote duty. I waited until my contribution truly mattered, until it could make a profound, unforgettable difference. That single chilling nuance can transmute a casual acquaintance into an unshakable ally. And while you meticulously construct these alliances, Remember this: power is magnetically attracted to composure, to stillness, never to chaos. The one who succumbs to panic inevitably loses control of the room, loses control of the narrative. So, when conflict inevitably erupts around you, do not rush to pick sides. Do not hastily declare your allegiance. Let others fight. Let them exhaust themselves vying for fleeting positions while you quietly, meticulously gather every piece of available information. Often, the last person to speak, the one who patiently waits, gains the most profound authority, precisely because everyone else has already, foolishly, exposed their cards, revealed their hidden agendas. Machiavelli himself thrived in such chaos, appearing impeccably neutral while, with unseen hands, secretly directing both sides to his own strategic advantage. You must master this identical art. Appear unaligned, uncommitted, until alignment becomes overwhelmingly, undeniably profitable, until the strategic advantage is undeniable. But neutrality alone is insufficient. It is merely a protective posture. Eventually, you must project influence, not loudly, with bombastic pronouncements, but atmospherically, through your very presence. True influence begins when people, unconsciously, start anticipating your opinion, your subtle perspective, long before you ever utter a single word. You cultivate this profound effect not by delivering grand speeches, but by asking surgical, incisive questions. Ask questions that reveal an undeniable, penetrating intelligence without ever demanding direct attention or applause. Over time, people will, almost without realizing it, begin deferring to you unconsciously. They will wait for your subtle reaction, your silent nod of approval or disapproval, before fully forming their own opinions. That, my friend, is the precise moment you have transcended from a mere participant to a silent yet formidable authority. There is a specific, electrifying moment in every climber's journey when they realize they no longer chase introductions. Instead, introductions chase them. That profound shift occurs when your mere presence creates an undeniable advantage for others. Perhaps you attract unspoken respect, or an aura of calm, or a magnetic field of opportunity, simply by association. The powerful, those cold collectors of assets, curate people like that, not necessarily because they harbor deep affection, but because being near such individuals subtly, yet powerfully, enhances their own image, their own formidable status. That is your ultimate leverage, to be seen as the one who effortlessly upgrades a room, elevates its very energy, merely by existing within it. But that kind of aura, that profound effect, cannot, under any circumstances, be faked or manufactured. It is meticulously built, painstakingly forged, from the quiet, relentless discipline of consistency. From showing up precisely on time, dressing with an almost imperceptible precision, speaking with measured, deliberate intent, and, above all, consistently doing exactly what you say you will do, without ceremony, without self-congratulation. The world of true influence is built on whispers, on subtle currents, and every single whisper about you, every passing comment either subtly raises your name, enhances your legend, or quietly, definitively, erases it from the consciousness of those who matter. Machiavelli, with his chilling wisdom, would remind you that the climb itself is not the ultimate goal. Transformation, profound and internal, is. Each encounter with power, each strategic interaction must change you, sharpen you, refine your emotional control, temper your inner discipline until you no longer feel, even for a fleeting moment, intimidated by mere titles, by ostentatious wealth, or by superficial status. Because when you reach that profound point where you can sit, entirely composed, beside power, beside absolute authority, and not feel, even subtly, smaller, you have already transcended it. And when you can perceive power not as something to instinctively bow to, but as something to clinically understand, to meticulously dissect, you will realize that strategic social climbing is not about crude manipulation. It is about a profound, almost mystical mastery of perception, of rhythm, and of unyielding restraint. The world, in its brutal reality, bends to those who move with an invisible, undeniable authority. Those who do not rush, those who do not beg, those who know, with terrifying precision, exactly when to step forward, and, more crucially, when to let others, inexorably, pull them closer. But even once you are pulled close, seduced into their orbit, your real, most dangerous test truly begins.